Well, I think that's the best, as far as I know, the best microphone quality that you may invest in for this sort of talk is by Logitech company. They do create certain microphones that are suitable for Skype calls. And I think they are very ideal for this sort of circumstances and this sort of situations. How's your week so far? I miss you.
Thank you. Me too. I missed my lessons with you.
Are you miss watching the lessons that we do, or you miss the direct live conversations that we do have
I
together?
think mostly the conversations and the information.
Okay. How about your day today? How is everything going on so far?
It's very cold, and I was spending my time preventing my feet from getting so cold. And this is impossible these days.
I think you're the kind of people who do not like to wear socks, right?
No, I wear socks all the winter days.
Okay, you wear socks and drink a lot of tea.
Yes, I have a tanker full of tea.
I can hear the ticking of your spoon.
Yeah. Me and Jaffer like caffeine so much, so we prepare.
Tell me about it.
Thermos, a big 1 liter of thermos of tea, and we just drink whenever we want.
Oh my God! And that just caffeinates your whole body with lots of. Yeah, you get this kind of adrenaline constantly. Is this supposed to be healthier?
Of course it's not, because I experienced a lot of symptoms because of caffeine, like tremor, like palpitation. But I don't care actually, because
do you have? Do you think that ingesting this amount of caffeine? I mean, I should not blame you, because I do pretty much double the amount of coffee every single day, because I need to keep myself alert. And
we will end up addict to the caffeine and all kinds of products containing caffeine, but you will not give up.
It's caffeine.
Caffeine.
It's I don't know if you know this sort of information, but chocolate, cacao, the plant of cacao is used to produce chocolate and cocaine. It's the same plant.
I didn't know.
This is something that I read on the Voice of America. I think it's a website that they talked about that sort of plant that is planted somewhere, but there's some sort of transformation that plant should go through in order to be able to produce cocaine. And regular plantations don't do this kind of process, because that's going to be against the law, and it should not it should not be used for that kind of purposes, because it's sort of like narcotics. It becomes narcotics. And since we started talking about bad habits, I love bad habits. I read bad habits. I suggest books about bad habits to people. Is that right?
Yes. We started with that.
Yeah, that's true. Have you made any sort of progress with that book, with that chapter, to be specific?
The second one, which is craving. Yeah.
And how do you resist craving?
How did I what?
How do you resist craving? Craving for cocaine, I keep saying cocaine. Craving for cacao or chocolate or coffee
I simply do not. Whenever I need a piece of chocolate, I will go and have it.
I
usually use the chocolate bars with very high cocoa
percentage
level, like percentage, like 70% and more. These are healthier.
It is said to be healthier. I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah, I consider that as a probably kind of habit that we should sometimes.
Well, as I know, according to my informations, cacao have it will help the secretion of serotonin, which is responsible for the activation of happiness centers in your brain, and that's what happens when you eat a bar of chocolate or when you take a piece of if I was balanced with my diet.
Zainab, I lost the last 15 minutes of your conversation. I didn't hear you.
What?
I lost the last 15 seconds of your conversation. I couldn't hear you.
I said that chocolate will activate the centers on your brain that secrete serotonin. This will makes you feel happy, and if you were so strict in your diet and
wait a second. I think we will have some word conversation here and word conflict. Do nerves secrete?
No, I said centers in your brain.
Do
serotonin.
Do?
Yes, they have the neurotransmitters, of course.
They transmit, but they do not secrete, I think.
You said secrete?
You said secretion or I was like, I think
the internet is just messing with us.
Because we will have in this way we will have a lot of lesion to talk about here.
I said, I will repeat again, that there are certain centers in your brain that will secrete serotonin, and this will make you feel joyful and happy. That's what I'm talking about.
But from a language point of view, the word secretion for brain cells is a bit off-putting here. I'm not sure.
We have glands in our brain, they secrete. Yes. This is
it's no piece of information to me.
Secretion.
Okay. The word is secretion. That's quite interesting. So moving to bad habits, because this is something that is juicy to talk about and to investigate and uncover and learn more about it based on your reading of the book and your journey with this book. And I think the best thing, this is probably something that I was taught by my professors back in the United States, that they do not tell us, they do not tell us that this is something that you should read and that's something that they just give us that as a task.
Exactly.
and they ask us to...
Yeah, they give you hints and titles and you have to search for it.
Not only that, but they ask us to write or to speak our reflection about that, because that is going to be the reflection of our response to our reading. So if they gauge how much you read based on your reflection and your talk about it. So probably this is something applicable to our case here, because what we are doing, we're just assigning you to read something and then selectively building on what you read. We resort to discussing it. And through discussion, we uncover new things. And that's going to help us along the way to become more familiar with the sort of anatomy of conversation, with the sort of anatomy of writing, with the skeleton of the framework of writing and how we should do that based on the writing. Also, the book is not offshore of our main topic because it tells us how to develop a habit. And by learning how to develop a habit, we develop a habit for consistency of our practice for writing, practice for speaking. And I really think the joy of me talking to you and the excitement and the conversation we do is purely serotonin out of itself, in and of itself, right now.
Okay. So we don't need chocolate anymore.
Well, physically speaking, no, you still need, but hypothetically speaking, no.
Yes. Okay.
Nervously speaking, you still need some chocolate out there to inundate your nervous system.
Yes.
The word is inundate. Let me just send it to you here. It's probably a new word, but I intentionally say these academic and intermediate and advanced level vocabulary because they are, collateral to our conversation. And by collectively writing them down on a side note, it's going to help you dramatically improve your mobility and diversity of conversation and word selection, which will ultimately help you write better, stronger paragraph for IELTS. How is this applicable to your situation, for example, here when we're trying to enforce some sort of habit to develop our writing or develop our listening or any sort of skill that has to do with language in general? Like, for example, simply maintaining some good satisfactory level of speaking and not feeling that your level is not progressing enough after a longer period of lack of practice.
I can help myself and get use of this formula by just simply follow it. Put a cue, which is my trigger, which is having the exam, for example, that exam, and allow myself to go through a routine that will help me to collect as much as information about it and to learn how to improve myself as well. And to get a reward, which my reward in this case is to be successful and to pass this exam.
Yeah, and get the required score. Now, let me ask you this question. Like, in terms of a score that you put, do you usually go extra point? Like, for example, if you're shooting for 7.5, do you just stick to 7.5, or you hope that your starting point is 8.5, so just in case something might happen?
Yes. I'm craving for that because at the end it's not about only having a good score, but when I hit that record, then it means that I did an excellent job, and my efforts doesn't just have wasted.
Okay, now
get wasted.
That's quite interesting thing, and that leads me to probably something earlier we haven't had enough time to address and talk a little bit more about it, and it's the habit loop, the cue, the routine, and the reward, and this sort of habit loop that was talked about in the first chapter. I'm not sure if you had enough time to go through that part, but I was curious to tell me if this is medically proven thing that once there's a clue, there's always a reward and there's always routine to get. Tell me a little bit more about it.
The whole idea is depends on the human psychology. There are certain rules and the human psychology that if you will follow, then you will create that loop, which is finding the simple and obvious clue and defining that reward. Eventually, the craving emerges.
Okay. Would you please give me an example here with enough details? I always try to encourage you
I
to...
think a drug addiction and substance abuse is an example of that, which is a bad habit and bad routine. Like if someone feeling miserable and he had a lot of missteps in his life, then he will take this fact as a cue, and then he will go to he will choose to use such a drug that will make him let's say delirious, and then he will be detached from his reality, and the reward is that he will feel just satisfied about himself, and he will say, what should I do? This is my life. I think it's one of the examples that I can give.
No, that leads me to another interesting paragraph that I would like to ask you to give me a little bit of your observation or your comment about, and that is, over time, this loop or cue, routine, reward, cue, routine, reward, becomes more and more automatic. What's your comment about that?
I didn't understand. Can you just repeat it?
Over time, this loop of cue, routine, and reward, cue, routine, and reward becomes more automatic. How does it become more automatic? What's your comment about that?
I think you just get used to it, and like if someone is just keep sitting in front of the television.
Your voice...
I think his mind will choose the...
Your voice was gone for 10 seconds. Can you just rewind? Can you just repeat what you said?
I said that we will get used to that routine, because when you are sitting in front of the television for hours and just do nothing, then your brain will use to that activity, and it will inhibit you from seeing the benefits of other activities, like going out and have a walk and doing some sport, or do as simple as, for example, simply do the house domestic work.
House chores
our
or
mind
home chores.
What?
We call that house chores or home chores or home duties. But we normally talk about...
so our mind will adapt to that bad habit.
Now let's talk about the adaptation of the brain. Is it external or internal? Like, because you mentioned that your brain is going to inhibit your body from moving out and doing another activity. Is it like that our brain sometimes takes control of what the kind of physical activity that we are doing? Or is it our consciousness inside the brain that controls the brain? I think it's a little bit a complicated topic for me to understand, and I want you to give me your own point of view, since you've studied that in more depth than me.
Well, I studied the physical one. I didn't study the spiritual one.
Okay. Tell me about the spiritual one, please.
The spiritual one. You mean the subconscious mind. I think subconscious mind is just like, how to say it, your will.
Tame.
Tame?
Tame. Just like the actor, the Lebanese or Syrian actor. I don't know his nationality.
Tame, Hassan. Okay.
Yeah, tame.
Okay.
Tame.
Then, like if you practice how to do some motivation exercise, or to allow yourself to sit in a room and a simple candle just and you light a small candle.
Yeah.
These actions, or simply do yoga or any kind of exercise that relax your mind, then these actions or these activities will help to tame your subconscious mind, and afterward your subconscious mind will find his way to any purpose that you are looking for. It will help you. Just like if we were perplexed with a certain task, I think this is a very common example. Like if we are, I've heard once that when there is a certain task, let's say a mathematical task in your mind, and you want to solve it, but you don't know how, then you might wake up in the morning or just walk into the street, and the solution will come up into your mind. That's because you were very so perplexed with that task. You want to solve it, so your subconscious mind just solve it and give you the solution right away. So I think this is the spiritual mind of the part of the mind. It needs practice. It needs to relax. You have to know how to deal with it.
I think you got stuck in a word that you didn't know how to express, and I think this is a good opportunity to tell you that when your mind is really busy with something and you try to troubleshoot that thing, we say in English, my mind was really occupied.
Okay, it is just like perplexed.
Perplexed is not like occupied. When you're talking about perplexed, we talk about personality or a problem or some sort of perplexing situation or person. It's very narrow. It's very narrow meaning in terms of indications that we use. But when I'm sorry. Today I was very occupied. My mind was very occupied with so many home chores. And occupied, مشغول. So that particular expression is very suitable for this kind of context, and we always use it collocationally to refer to our busyness of our mind, or our mind engaging in certain mental processing that just takes and consumes most of our time thinking about it. Now, you have given me very insightful and informative and meaningful and, of course, inspirational talk regarding the subconsciousness. And this leads me actually to open the venue to give you a better chance to talk to me about more of that by asking you the next question. And that is, what tasks do you do to tame your subconscious mind? Give me a detailed answer.
Okay. I prefer to sit in the dim light, as I said, with the small candle. Okay. With a small cup of coffee or tea. And sometimes I listen to music. I like Yani, actually. I like his pieces. And I used to do this routinely before, but these days I don't have much time for that. So these are my routines to...
Routine, okay. Now, what sort of productive tasks do you do once you finish this sort of meditation healing or treatment?
Like, for example, it will enable me to calm down when I feel angry. Or it will, afterward, I can perform my everyday tasks so easily without hesitation or without feeling so tired or bored.
What triggers your anger?
A lot of things.
Okay,
Like,
tell me the things that are not classified or you don't want to talk about, generally speaking. But, you know, when I ask these kind of, when I ask you these kind of questions, I'm just trying to listen.
I don't want to forget the answer, actually.
You're not going to forget the answer because you have a ton of time to talk to me about. Zainab, I want you to listen to something very important here. When I ask you these kind of questions, it is not that I'm curious to know about your personality as much as it's
practice.
I'm stretching your skills and talking about sensitive, complicated, perplexing, meditational, inspirational topics. When you move around, you become more flexible with your language skills, and you just give your subconscious mind another shot of adrenaline to be more courageous, to speak out, to tell people about your experience, your life, and you know, since I mentioned earlier that language is a set of skills that you accumulate from failure and frustration and meditation, and it's a collection of our personality. Actually, it's like a puzzle, and this does not come by reading books, or I mean, of course, reading books is a plus, but it's not going to add up to your expressiveness in front of people. You just need to practice like a football player. So my
What
insistence.
triggers my anger? Generally speaking, I'm a competitive type of personality. So when I had a task and I cannot accomplish that task very well, I got so frustrated. And you asked me before about do I have a certain type of fear? Yeah, I have. I have the fear of failure. Yeah, so I kind of see it's very healthy because it will motivate me to be the best and will not accept anything, just the best. It will help me to add more and more to my experience to be the best. So yeah.
What's next?
What's next of what?
What's next of being the best?
Improving myself. Improving myself, just as simple as that.
Okay, so I think that you have very noble goal.
Not improving. Sorry, not improve. Proving myself.
Okay.
Proving.
Maybe this is something that takes us back to our childhood, and I think this sort of dedication that you have comes from failure. In my case, being bullied in school or at home, and being silenced or being marginalized by your peers, your colleagues, your friends, to some extent, family-related pressures that just silenced part of your effort to become who you are, to take the full mobility of yourself and be whatever you want. So this sense of self-proving and self-indulgence, and this sense of improving, self-improving and self-indulgence and avoiding failure constantly comes from that fear of being bullied again, I don't know about your case, but this is probably my personal case with this sort of observation that I'm listening to. However, I think that most of my successes in terms of like improving people's skills or spreading the knowledge about language and motivating people to follow the lead comes from a failure. I failed a lot, and I started to develop this sense of failure immunity system where I developed this thick skin not to be afraid of being a failure. If once you realize that the context is not hospitable to your skills, the social context is not hospitable to the kind of potentials that you have. Just because you're $100 in a place that does not use this currency does not mean that you don't have a value. Your value is somewhere else. It's just simple as that. So once this $100 bill is smuggled across the border to another country, let's say Canada, for example, this currency is going to be very valid and usable. So the point is that just because you have these potentials in this social context does not mean that you should be afraid of failure. And this is probably used to be my preoccupied idea and thought that I should not fail. But then I realized that it's not about me, it's just the context is not hospitable. One of the things that actually you raised here is very significant, and that is the sense of failure and why people should be afraid or not afraid of failure. And remind me before I forget to send you an article from Harvard Business Review. It's one of the most popular magazines in the world. And the author talks about strategies of learning from failure. And I think this is a very important article for you to go through and read in details. And because the author talks about, like, for example, reasons for failure, and like, for example, lack of ability, inattention, process of inadequacy, the challenges of the task, the complexity of the tasks, the uncertainty about the things that people are planning to do, and other things that I would definitely ask you to just go through and enjoy reading once you have enough time. But that's all actually tied to our topic here, which is more conversational than IELTS related tonight. What I like about you is that you're very clever when it comes to talking about your thoughts. Once you have the containing atmosphere to give you the chance to talk, and this is probably one of the common things that I should notice here. We have a checkpoint. I know I talked a lot. I'm sorry.
No.
But we have a grammar police checkpoint tonight.
Where? At my text of the writing text?
No, you just said something earlier, and I want to comment on because I hope that you do not.
What is it?
I hope that you do not object to my feedback to your speaking. I'm not perfect, by the way, but since this is my job and I can do it directly or indirectly, I prefer to do it directly to give you more confidence, you know?
Okay.
In English, there's something called collective nouns or uncountable nouns. They are used some sort of interchangeably, and collective nouns are tricky nouns, like the word committee.
Yes.
So should we use the word committee in plural or singular? Like, for example, this committee or team is a group of people. It's not like one.
Yes.
Like, for example, the Iraqi team are coming or the Iraqi team is coming. Which one is correct?
Is coming.
Are you sure?
The Iraqi team is coming, yes.
Well, the Iraqi team is group of people. The word team is not one single person. It's a group.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the committee has decided, or the committee have decided.
Has.
Decided.
Yes, has decided.
In some occasions, it's both. Okay? It depends on your meaning. In addition to this, we have uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns are nouns that are either mass noun, asma kutla, and they do not tend to be countable. They are resilient. Resilient. I don't know if you know this word, but I'll just write it down. Resilient. It means resistant. Just think of resistant, resilient.
Resilient. Resilient. Resilient.
Okay.
Resilient. 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 Resilient.
The word is resilient. To being counted as plural. For example, the word information. We should not say informations because that's in Arabic, and that just tells me that you're kind of transferring directly from your Arabic filter to English filter.
Okay.
The word, for example, music.
Music.
The word art. Happiness, love. These are, sometimes we say advices. Information. News. Furniture. Luggage. Rice. Like sugar. Butter. Water. We don't say waters. Or water.
Yes.
Waters.
Okay.
Electricity. Kahraba. We do not say electricities.
15.
In Iraq, we don't have it either in singular or in plural. In both cases, we don't have it. Electricity.
Okay. Of course.
Gas, yeah, but we cannot say gases unless we refer
I'm
to
talking about vapors or something.
power, money. We do not say money, monies. We have never heard
Yes.
the word monies, and currency. So I'll just sum them up and write them. These are the most common ones out there in English, and we just go after frequency of these expressions. We do not go after how many they are because some of them are very rare to be used. But these are the most common ones, and we just go through them. So just keep in mind the word information, the word data. We do not say datas. We just say data, datum, data. Information,
Data.
information. The word data is actually plural. It's from the word datum. Datum is singular. Data is a plural word. Are we good?
Yes.
Now, going back, because everything is connected here and we kind of like got lost in the wood of conversation here. So let's go back to the highway of our conversation to check where we are heading to. In our discussion of today, we are building a little bit of foundation to give you a chance to express yourself and your reflection about chapter 2. And we're taking that slowly but carefully. So do you have any other comments, any findings, pieces of information that you would like to share with me regarding chapter 2?
Well, actually, I just summarized my knowledge about it.
Okay. Sounds good. Now, So far, we talked about chapter 2, and we talked about the power of habit as in influential to help people realize. My next question is actually related to chapter 1, and I kind of like thought about asking you that on multiple occasions, but I just missed it. What made Eugene, for instance, resume his life even though he lost his memory? What sort of activity did he do to resume his life even though he lost his memory? Do you kind of have any kind of comment about that?
Yeah, he just created that loop. Like for example, when they asked him about they asked him to draw an outline or a simple map about his home. He couldn't. But because of the repetition that he had during his stay at home, when they asked him, what would you do if you feel thirsty, he just walked down the hall to the kitchen and find the water. I think repetition of the actions that he did make that behavior stuck into his basal ganglia, and he created a habit, and even if he didn't memorize it, he didn't have the ability to recall it. Like when they said to his wife, you should take him every day, he should walk every day, and after that she felt that she lost him. She was surprised that he found his way to his home because of the ongoing repetition about his action. But they said the clue or the proof about that is they said if anything was changed at the street, like a tree, like they were doing repairing for the street, he will lose his way again.
Now, have you come across any people in Iraq or during your study time who had some struggle with his memory, or he didn't kind of like sort of recall events and situations normally? And how did you deal with this sort of circumstances?
Medically, I didn't have a contact, but in the life, yes, I have.
Tell me more about it, please.
My relatives. She was an old woman, and she had Alzheimer. And she was very smart and intelligent when she was a young woman. But sadly, she started to lose her memory, and
is it Parkinson or something else?
No, Alzheimer.
What is it?
Alzheimer.
Is that in Arabic or in English?
In English.
Okay, it's actually Alzheimer.
Okay.
Alzheimer. Let's probably this is just because we haven't heard it from native speakers a lot.
Alzheimer.
Yes.
Alzheimer.
So
Alzheimer.
see, that's the American, and the first one is British, so it's up to you.
Okay.
But it's not Alzheimer. It's more of Alzheimer.
Alzheimer.
Or Alzheimer. Anyways, that's what makes people get this sort of disease? Is it like something environmental or mental or something related to DNA? Or would you please tell me a little bit more about it?
It is. They don't know till now what are the major causes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but some of them say that it is genetic, or some because of the problems and struggles the people suffer from their life. It is unknown till now.
Okay. I do have this quote from Albert Einstein. I don't know if they attribute this quote to him, and I'm really not sure about the authenticity of this claim that this is something that Albert Einstein said. But he said, a person who never made a mistake never tried anything new. What's your comment about that? Because this is some sort of related to the sense of failure and your phobia from failure.
Can you repeat the say so I can think more about it?
It's a quote. The word is a quote.
Okay,
Tibas.
the quote.
It's a quote.
The quote,
So
yes.
the way we say, could you please repeat the quote? The quote is,
Yeah.
those.
I quote.
The quote.
Yes.
A person who never made a mistake never tried anything.
Mm-hmm.
What's your comment about that?
Of course, in life, our series is life is a series of experiences, and knowledge will not emerge unless you have a lot of experiences that you pass through your life. Knowledge will not come up just like this out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to practice, you have to fail, you have to repeat in order to get the point that you will succeed.
And is this something coming from your personal experience and your observation,
Of course,
or okay? Would you please enlighten me more with more examples from things that happened in your life and it just demanded so much from your effort to achieve them?
Well, I will talk about how did I get rid of my fear in some situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember the first time that I attended the anatomy lab for the second grade.
Atypiphobia.
When I remember my feeling, I just feel ridiculous because I remember that I felt so scared, and when they said that now we will have an anatomy lab, I felt that my body is shaking, and I felt that I'm gonna.
Your voice is gone.
And the disturbing thing is that I couldn't even say that I feel scared, because when I saw my colleagues, they were very okay with that and they didn't feel anything. So I just kept it inside of me, and I walked into the class. But after I faced it, I said, oh my God, is it that simple? Because the cadavers were there, and
Cadavers, oh my God.
they do not seem even real.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
they are not real. They are mummified in a way that lose their soul and their...
They're just like people like us who were happy and had families.
like a toy. It's just like a toy. It is not scary at all. So
What did you learn? What
I did...
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what I did is that I put myself together, and I collect my
Pulled myself
thoughts, and
together.
I thought about very good and joyful.
Yeah, as much as I think that a lot of medical students wish to get to that moment, but seeing cadavers and seeing dead bodies who had families or kids or relatives lying down on that kind of stretcher and being pulled apart and I don't know, under the scalpels of the surgeons.
I think we have to discuss those moments in lessons, in the next lessons, because I have a lot of stories to talk about.
I would love actually to document everything you say here, and listen to every piece of information that you like to share with me. But I don't want to go deeper because I'm afraid that some of it is more personal to your life, and it's just goes beyond the educational purpose of our conversation.
Okay.
But I insist that I would like to invite you to talk as much as possible related to the topics that you think you are okay to share with me. And this is, again, I reiterate that this is part of my endeavor to help you stretch out your skills and talk about a variety of topics. One thing that you mentioned that I want to comment on is that you should not push yourself together, but to pull yourself together.
I said I put myself together.
Yeah, so it's pull yourself together. So I decided to pull myself together and carry on, not push myself together. But you're very close. You're very close to the right expression here.
Okay.
What I think we should do next time is to open the space to you to do more presentation about this sort of experiences, because I really think you should tell us a little bit more about the lesson that you learned about life from seeing cadavers and on stretchers and under the scalpel of surgeons, and what that told you, what kind of lessons, moral lessons that you learned about life, about philosophy, about meditation, about afterlife. These things are more like, I really think you should tell us a little bit more about it from your experience as a traveler, as a medical student, as a person who experiences multiple cultures, as a person who speaks more than 2 languages. These are quite interesting points to be discussed and addressed. What do you think?
I agree with you.
I can't wait to hear you talk about that topic in our next meeting, inshallah.
Okay.
Zainab, thank you so much. I do have a list of things that you should check them out. I'm sending that to you here. And these are going to be our topic for our next meeting. Can I send that to you here? I'll send that to you here. And it's also, they are also accessible in our Google Sheets. In Google, probably if you have a Gmail right now, you will get a notification that I made some changes to the Google document. Once you access that, you will see the tasks here with the links. So there are 3 tasks. First one is related to the book, because we are processing that book, and I kind of want to put you on track of completing this book at least this month or next month. And 2, so we can say we finished a book. 2, I want you to read this article from Harvard Business Review, and it's called Strategies for Learning from Failure. 3rd, this website has a link to the words that I told you that are uncountable. So just have a look at the examples. You do not need to read. We don't have exams. We just chat about them. But you should just be aware of that and give your subconscious mind a chance to process them and reshuffle any one of them that it uses. Should we say for your subconscious mind, it or he? Or she? She. Your she subconscious mind A chance to process and reshuffle and reorganize or reprogram your linguistic mind to say them correctly. If you come across any occasion where you do not say them correctly. Zainab, thank you so much for this lovely meeting and for your lovely conversation and your lovely experience.
Thank you.